Last week, we discussed whether or not we've been spoiled with the quality storytelling that we got from Andor. The Mandalorian is a different show entirely. Completely different purpose, different audience, different goals that it sets out to achieve. But I couldn't help but feel like I was missing out on something. Andor provided much more than I ever expected from that show, and I expected a lot. Mandalorian, the premiere episode, was not a very good premiere episode. And so I was very surprised in Chapter 18. I loved it. Loved it absolutely. 9 out of 10. It was a fantastic episode. We're going to talk about why that might be tonight, as well as in our news segment, some breaking news. I don't often do this, but I've got some unreleased footage never before seen by the public. Stay tuned. I hope you enjoy the show right here on Coffee on Korriban. Hello and welcome back to Coffee on Korriban. And like I said in the intro, this episode took me by surprise. I really did not expect to be as into it as I was. The premiere episode of Season 3 was just not up to the same par as the premieres for Seasons 1 and 2, where we got the reveal of Grogu in the first season, and then also the reveal that Boba Fett is in fact still alive in the second season. So it didn't really seem like this season was going anywhere, aside from, he's got to get redeemed in the pools, and, Bo-Katan, has to try to reunite everything. I guess the one piece of interesting information that we got from that first episode was just how dejected and, down in spirits, so to speak, that Bo-Katan was. And it was cool to see how she kind of took the opportunity to go on a quest, so to speak, and ran with it in this episode. I got a guest who just popped in right now because my co-host is in the gym right now, I believe. So I got another guy. Hopefully you guys know his name. You should know his name after this. Let's say hello to the people in chat. We've got Rebel Dom SF. Here's a sip for you, General Kenobi. Don't believe I've seen your name before. So if this is your first time, welcome. I appreciate you being here. We are talking Mando Chapter 18. I really liked it. So I may have been wrong in my assessment last week. Comment of the week, and then I'm going to bring in my guy. Let's see. Comment of the week is from Hughes of the Heart. He says, "Whoa, slow down. I know Andor had moments like the Eye, but let's not pretend they wasn't walking around with AK-47s, or as I like to call them, Space K-47s," which honestly was pretty funny. They could have done more with that blaster to separate it from the real-life counterpart, but very funny point that you make there, Hughes of the Heart. So let's bring in our guest. I don't think I have a stinger for him. So let's just do this one.
It calls to you.
Dan the Man. And I'll have everyone in chat know, this is not Dan a man. This is Dan the Man. How are you doing, sir?
What up, man?
No, it's good to see you again. I see you're growing your beard out, looks like.
Just a little something slight, I'm actually
nice.
Getting an entire new look for the hairdo, so I think around a couple weeks I'm gonna try to I'm gonna shave it. I'm gonna just stick with the the hair at the bottom, but we'll get rid of the sideburns, get rid of the stash, and just rock that with my rose.
I don't dare shave everything off. Obviously, the mustache is my brand now, so I can't.
Oh,
I can't really get rid of that.
Good.
But even the beard, I don't think I would. I don't have the jawline for it. I got to lose some.
Oh no, I'm
extra fat first.
I'm keeping the beard at the bottom, just getting rid of the
I gotcha.
Yeah, no. If anything, I might just keep this and get rid of the helmet straps.
Sure, I gotcha. Well, that sounds fun. How did you like Chapter 18, scale of 1 to 10, right off the bat?
I give it a 9. 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
I give it a 9 as well. And I said this in my reaction, which I still have to upload, but the scale I'm using to critique these Mandalorian episodes is different from that which I use to critique the Andor episodes. It's just a totally different show. I don't really want to equate them. So this episode, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Chapter 18. Loved it. In comparison to Andor, I might rate it like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Because it's different to me. I'm trying to convince myself that it's an entirely different genre. It's not even comparable. So I'm trying to separate those.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just a testament to how amazing Andor was. And we talked about that last week on my show, is just where we spoiled with the quality storytelling. I don't recall exactly what your feeling was on that show.
So I really enjoyed Andor. What's up, Nova? What's up, Kay? Yeah, Andor was probably like it set the bar for Star Wars shows to me on how shows should be. After receiving hot doodoo stains like Book of Boba, Kenobi, Andor it was the one. So Mando, I feel like now that we got the Mythosaur, which was the highlight for me, I'm very hyped up to see what tomorrow night's episode is going to have for us with this hour-long thing, man. I think we're just going to go straight into saving the school from those raggedy pirates on Navarro.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later. I don't know how long you can stay. You can stay 5 minutes or the entire show. That's up to you. But
I was going to have to do a little
yeah,
but we can talk for sure.
Oh, that's all up to you. You can stay as long as you wish or as short as you wish. But that's one thing that I felt like the premiere episode for Chapter 3, or Season 3 rather, didn't really have any cohesive storyline, and it kind of felt like we were just thrown into the middle of it. And I know where we're going, and he has to redeem himself in the pools, and Mandalore is broken, and kind of the general stuff. But as far as the plot for the first episode of this season, I was a little confused. Like, okay, we're battling street pirates, and now we're the Moss monster out in space, the Captain Gillian Shard, whatever his name is. Whereas this episode felt much, much more cohesive. And that's actually one of the topics that I wanted to talk about first, was that it felt like this episode had an actual plot. There was a purpose behind it. And that might be one of the things that I was spoiled with Andor. Everything had a purpose. And I can't remember exactly who the showrunner was that mentioned that before the season came out. But they said, if it's in there, it's got a purpose. There's no wasted line of dialogue. There's no useless cameos. And that's something that I feel like The Mandalorian has suffered from in the past. And this episode definitely was a step in the right direction as far as having a purpose.
Right.
It didn't really seem like there was any particular scene where I thought to myself, okay, what are we doing here? What's the point? It felt much more cohesive in that sense. So I don't know if you felt the same way about that.
I'm not going to say it wasn't cohesive, but I will say, like, starting off, the only interesting thing that I can recall, honestly, dude, was when Bo-Katan told him to fleff off. Like, that was like everything else, like I'm starting to get a little annoyed with the R5 owner on Tatooine. Like, why are we still talking to her? And just overall, like, yeah, I'm not really a fan of how Luke gives up Grogu. And whether he was with him for 2 years or not, the way that they went about it was just not the vibe. So it's like, because you haven't seen Boba, and you just go from watching him lose him into this, it's like, okay, wait, he's back. And then you watch the trailers for Mando Season 3, and it's basically, all right, kid, you ready for another adventure? Like, Dad and Boba, I'm just over the entire thing, bro, honestly. So
I feel you on that. And that's something we actually did talk about last week, is the people that didn't watch those shows, specifically Book of Boba Fett, would be lost a little bit as to how we got back, because that was such a major emotional point to the end of the second season. Was, all right, he's got to give him up, and then we all assumed we were going to get a full season of Mandalorian without Grogu to build the suspense and build that distance between us and Grogu and not oversaturate his face like it is in Walmart. Every single product is Grogu, and I'm sad to say I buy a lot of them because my younger Padawan she loves Grogu. So.
Yes, got to do it for the kids.
Yeah. Gefcon, that's what it is, said, do you feel like the hype for Mando Season 3 isn't there like it was last season? I would agree with that statement. Now,
because it's been too long.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. It feels like it's been about 5 years since the Luke hallway scene. Mm-hmm. It feels like a long time ago, and it was not that long ago.
Didn't it air was it 2019?
I think so. End of 2019?
Bro, we're in 2023 right now.
Man, maybe it was that long.
So, yeah, you're not that far off, honestly.
Yeah, because that was before I moved to Tennessee.
Right.
Which was 2 years ago. So I guess maybe it was 3 years ago or so. Okay. Maybe it was that long. But it definitely feels like a lot longer than it was. Mm-hmm. So that may be why the hype has died down, along with the oversaturation of Grogu. It just everywhere.
Charlie says it was in 2020, but it's still 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you can walk by.
No, turn your camera off.
Turn my camera off? Yeah. All right. My Mrs. Korriban is going to walk by.
No, turn your camera off.
I'm going to. All right.
Perfect.
Is that brownie brittle?
Yeah.
You want to say hi to everyone? Okay.
Hi, Mrs. Korriban.
Love you. Dan the man says hi. All right, she said hi. But yeah, that's a great question, Gefcon. Yeah, way too long and too many bad shows in between. Yeah. Yep, I would agree. Isaac, good to see you in the chat. He says he gives it a 9. Not even going to spoil the scale with Andor, but just in the Mandoverse. That's the approach that, like I said, that I'm taking with it. It's just two different scales. It's like trying to judge an MCU Marvel movie against something like Tenet or Schindler's List or some epic. You know, where they're going for this is a movie as opposed to this is a fun time. It's different. They both have their place. I've made videos on that before.
If Mando can go to that dark place, I think there still might be a sliver of hope if we can get into that. But whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay, but how are you all doing? Well, thank you very much for asking. I'm doing good. I've made some changes to my health recently, and it's paying off big time. So, personally, I'm doing really well. So, thanks for asking. How are you, Dan? I didn't even ask, really. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. We haven't caught up in the spell, have we?
It's been a little while. You pop out every now and then.
Hey, man. Just like Charlie said, I'm in the MCU. I'm a busy guy, out here doing it. So, but, I've been good. Just maintaining. Moved to Atlanta a year ago now, and just
cool.
Might have some trips planned. Might be going to Harlem, London, out of the country. Yeah, just
cool.
Taking it.
I'll have to make my way down to Atlanta sometime because it's not too far from me.
You're like 4 hours away from me, dude. I actually want to retire in Gatlinburg. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's about an hour away from me.
There you go.
It's a nice area. Pigeon Forge, that whole area is really nice.
Dollywood.
Oh, dude. We went there Friday for pass holder preview day.
How'd you like it?
Oh, we love Dollywood. We had season passes last year, and as much as I loved Disneyland growing up, I grew up going to Disneyland twice a week. Dollywood is that for my daughters. They love Dollywood. I like it. The roller coasters are legit. It's not just kids rides and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy with Dollywood, and it's not a place that I am fearful my kids are going to get the wrong, political messaging or whatever from Mickey Mouse or something. So Definitely a good place to go. Them guns. Yeah, I'm trying to beef up a little bit. But thank you. All right. I appreciate that. So
I was gonna try to tell you, man. You know how Mando can get to that dark storytelling as if they kill off Din.
Yeah.
Essentially, me and the boys over on Obsession Stream were talking about the possibility last stream, and it was like the Bridger theory could save him if he's Ezra Bridger's brother.
Mm-hmm.
But having him be betrayed by Bo, because if you look at it, bro, he's not that nice with the Darksaber.
Oh, he's not. Bo-Katan killed it with the Darksaber in this episode, and I think I said something in my reaction along the lines of like, yeah, it belongs in her hands. Like
it really does.
Like sure, she kind of blew it when it was her turn to whatever. Can't remember exactly the storyline, but it belongs with her. She's competent with it, definitely. But
and maybe this episode could have a 4-way fight with Paz, Bo, Boba, and Din fighting over the Darksaber. Who knows? It's gonna be an hour long. So
yeah, I still think that Din is very hesitant to even have it in his possession.
I think if he does get it, he's gonna pass it to Grogu. That's the only way I see him. Because isn't Grogu prophesized like unite the thing, or is that just a fandom thing?
It probably is a fandom thing, but it sounds legit. Like Mandalore the Ultimate originally, and then the new version of that where he's Mandalorian Jedi, which I guess he can't really be a Jedi, but force wielding Mandalorian to unite the clans and that sort of stuff. There's a lot they can do with it. And of course you're going to get the people that say, oh, it's all just leading to the sequels. But I mean, the galaxy is huge. We could have the Mandalorian Wars happening on this half of the galaxy while the sequels are taking. It's too big of a world for it to be boiled down to like 5 characters.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Coffee. And I really wish fans in particular, would understand that the sequels are not the end all be all. We just got confirmation from Dave that that's not even a possibility, or the possibility is open for them to never even cross over.
Yeah.
So
I just don't. It doesn't matter with the sequels. Like I don't love them as films. I've come to accept them for what they are, which is not my Star Wars, but I can watch them and enjoy them. I've gotten to the point where I don't hate them at all. Obviously, I wouldn't like it if all this stuff we're enjoying right now leads directly into it. They're probably going to avoid that, I would imagine.
I think they are, just because you don't see any of them in the freaking trilogy at all. Like,
the
New Beyond is a place we've never been to. Like, that's not the Outer Rim. The New Beyond is where the Ahsoka and the Skeleton Crew show will be, and it's like a whole bunch of cathartic mess could go on out there. You got Thrawn, the Dark Jedi, undead armies. Like, none of that has to do with Rey. Like,
right, and who knows when Luke turned on Ben and the Jedi Temple collapsed and everyone was killed or whatever. Maybe some of those Jedi escaped and formed their own thing way off in the unknown regions, and then that's a way to tie in the Yuuzhan Vong and whatever else. And then so what if Palpatine resurrects his infinite empire or whatever for like 2 years out of that timeline?
A year.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't, bro. Like, that was such a small niche compared to the overall scope. We're already getting a sequel movie that takes place after that. But no one else, these characters have to be in that story, and if they are, we don't know in what capacity.
Yeah.
Flashbacks, long dead and gone, 1,000 years. This could be about Grogu's new Jedi Order, for God's sake. Like,
yep. Yeah, if he's going to be alive potentially another 900 years, how many stories can you tell in his lifetime?
We're still stuck in his baby years, and
he can't even talk yet, guys.
Exactly.
The blip of the sequel trilogy in the grand scheme of things is like the American Civil War in world history. It's one small location in a larger world for a finite amount of time. There's things before that, after that, during that, in other parts. It's just, it only matters if you care so much about it.
And on top of that, I encourage you people to read the comics by Charles Soule, the Vader issue, the Star Wars issues, they all, to me, enhance the sequel trilogy in a way just because of the use of the cut concepts like the Eye of Webbish Bog and Kira, Hidden Empire, and Dr. Alpha. They're dealing with the Sith Eternal and the Fermata Cage, like Maul was trying to lock Palpatine away. It's good stuff, man, that it's just so good. So, please don't just be in the state of, yes, it's so good, but I know where it's all. No, you don't. None of us know where it's going. So let's just chill out. And
I'm going to play the stinger for a segment. We're not doing the segment tonight, but it applies here because we have to keep in mind that, where is that stinger? None of this is real, I think is what it's called. It doesn't matter whether it leads into the sequels or it's completely different.
Preach on it, brother.
Have fun with it. Just have fun.
That's
right.
It.
Mm-hmm. That's it. So before we get to the next thing that I really liked about this episode, let's get into an actual segment of the show where is that stinger? News from the stars.
From the farthest corners of the galaxy and every channel in the HoloNet, we bring you News from the Stars.
Welcome to News from the Stars, the part of the show where I bring up a current event, an article about Star Wars, usually from websites that know nothing about Star Wars. So this one comes to us once again from Inside the Magic. And this is the kind of thing that Google recommends to me because it knows that I search things having to do with Star Wars, and it assumes any Star Wars article is what I like. Yeah. Inside the Magic is, I don't even know really what they are, but all their Star Wars articles are not quite there as far as knowledge. So this article is titled, Star Wars is about to change Return of the Jedi forever. So if that's not a clickbait title right off the bat, I don't know what is. First off, Star Wars is about to change Return of the Jedi forever. Like Lucasfilm? Or like...
That just...
Like right off the bat, what's going on? So I was a little bit intrigued with that headline, and I wanted to dig into it. And the article starts out, fans might be shocked that 40 years later, Lucasfilm still has a few ideas left to change Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi in one of the best ways possible. This Return of the Jedi change might even be something George Lucas never intended to include in the story. Ooh, what's the big change they're going to make?
What is
it? Supposedly they have some inside the magic information, I guess.
Really?
The article continues. Emperor Palpatine dies due to Vader's sacrifice as the fallen hero saves the galaxy, but his sacrifice costs him his life. In his final moments, Luke Skywalker drags Vader across the second Death Star to a nearby shuttle. Before getting into the ship, Vader asks Luke one final thing, to see his son with his own eyes. So, just a recap. You can tell this article is tailored towards the plebes, the uninitiated. It continues. The iconic helmet is lifted, and Luke sees his father for the first and final time. A scarred Anakin looks at his son one final time and reassures Luke Skywalker before dying on the space station. Fans of the franchise knew this wasn't the last time we got to see the character. Anakin appears as a Force ghost moments later at the end of the movie with Obi-Wan and Yoda. Originally, Sebastian Shaw appeared as Anakin's Force ghost, but Lucas changed this in the special edition to Hayden Christensen. Yoda communes with Qui-Gon to become a Force ghost, which explains how Yoda and Obi-Wan become one with the Force, but Anakin's appearance as a Force ghost was still a mystery, but will be revealed soon. So here's where we're getting to the nitty-gritty details. They're going to tell us how that's going to be changed forever. Remember, the title of the article was Star Wars is about to change Return of the Jedi forever. So how are they going to do this?
Right.
One theory was that Skywalker's tragic downfall into the dark side was when he was young. So when he finally redeemed himself, his Force ghosts revealed the face of when he was last using the light side. Obi-Wan, Alec Guinness, and Yoda, Frank Oz, used the light side until they died so they don't show off a younger version of their characters.
Okay.
In the end, Star Wars is finally going to answer some questions fans have had for over a decade, and it's about time since the movie will be 40 years old, and it's best not to leave significant changes like this shrouded in mystery. End of article.
What did we learn that we didn't know already?
we learned that there is going to be a major change to one of the best movies ever made. There's theories about that change.
Right.
But we have no idea what the change is, and neither do the people that write this article. So, thank you, Inside the Magic.
I'm not going to get those 10 minutes of my life back in my coffee.
No, you're not. You're not. I think it was like 6 minutes, so.
Okay.
Not too much of a loss, but either way, this has been news from the stars.
From the farthest corners of the galaxy and every channel in the holonet, we bring you news from the stars.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love that.
You all know you missed my brick wall tonight. Yeah, Father Time with his brick wall background behind him.
Oh, so Father.
He's in the gym right now, which is why he couldn't be here.
Okay, gotcha. I think we ran Charlie off when we talked about the sequels too.
Yeah, it's a sore spot for a lot of people. They hear sequels and they instantly shut down. And I think one of the things that helped me get past that was the Matt Cave edit of The Last Jedi. Were you there with us when we watched that? Yeah, and it made me realize there's a lot of really, really, really good Star Wars there, buried under 50 layers of manure.
Yeah, that's it.
So when you edit all that out, it's easier to see it. It's not what I would prefer, to have happened in that storyline, but it's not nearly as bad as most people remember it that haven't given it a second chance. I'm very glad that I did.
I like what we talked about earlier with just using the expanded material. That basically what the comics are doing now is what Clone Wars did for the prequels, enhancing them, making them better. This, that, and the third. I wouldn't be mad if they said Finn was related to Mace Windu at all. Honestly, if they even
that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like he was, yeah. I would like for them to really tie in the Vader Immortal story somehow with the pirate protagonist and Quirky Chris. Two characters we have not seen in a long time.
There's just so much available material to draw from, and even if they change it up like they usually do to put it in, live action or animation, some visual media as opposed to the comics, there's so much there. And again, for it to have to tie into the sequels is really limiting if you, from a creative standpoint, if you think about it. There's so much, the universe sandbox is so massive, and you're focused on one kid that built a castle the way you didn't like.
Thank you.
So, enough sequel talk. We always kind of drift into that from time to time.
Yeah, it's all good. It happened, but look, we're getting that new movie. Like I said, afterwards, who knows if that's going to turn into a trilogy? And also, I'm just very curious to see where we're going forward, and with what we're getting post in my favorite Return of the Jedi era, because we still haven't yet to explore that. We could man. Luke could have been a clone this whole time, and we never even knew it. He's off saving the Yuzong Vong right now. No, real talk. I'm really excited for tomorrow's episode. just
Yeah.
because of the hour long. Like we're gonna get a lot, I think. And
I am too. That's another thing I wanted to touch on is I'm genuinely excited
right.
for the rest of the season now. After the first episode, it was like, I'll watch it, which is actually why it took me until yesterday to even watch the episode. I didn't even watch the chapter 18 until yesterday. I had
Really?
no motivation to make videos on it
Yeah.
because after the first, episode of this season, it was just, I don't really care all that much. Where is this going? I miss Andor. Bring back Andor. I just want Andor season 2.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
so the
wow.
motivation wasn't there. But now, after chapter 18, I'm genuinely excited for the rest of the season.
And I think
They touched on the lore, which is one aspect of it that really got me excited. And the plot seems to be going somewhere. Someone put in a comment earlier on one of my videos or something that now he's been redeemed in the pools or whatever. He's gone through that process. That aspect of the story is out of the way, and we can continue on to the bigger picture, which
Yeah.
I assume is reuniting the Mandalorian clans.
well, another thing too with that, man, we're not done with the who's going to get the Darksaber. Like this isn't just about unifying. This is about who will carry us forward into that new era once the unification is done. Din wants nothing to do. Someone has said earlier that there will the him struggling shows him the weight of the burden, but I gotta tell you, I don't think Din's making it out of the season. Like just because of he's not a character I see just continuing with. Like he's been on this journey for what, to deliver a kid to Jedi, okay, and then he shows his face to the Grogu, and now the only way that he can be saved, forgiven of his sins, is to take a bath. And now that he's in the bath, why are we following Din exactly? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that's a
saying?
good
Like,
point.
there's-
I totally see what you're saying. And the question of, is he going to be the one to reunite Mandalore and rebuild their empire? I don't see it. The only reason why your average Mandalorian, that are off, being mercenaries in the galaxy at this point, the only reason they would follow someone like him is simply because he has the Darksaber. He's
Right.
got no name recognition. No one knows who he is. He's got the cool armor and he's got a kid with him. But other than that, no one knows who he is. They would recognize the name Boba Fett more than his.
That's what
And
Boba
so
might be the guy.
He's not necessary. I personally, after seeing Bo-Katan's how she's been presented in these last 2 episodes, I would
Right.
love for her to have sort of a redeeming arc and
Yeah.
rightfully assume the throne. I
Mhm.
would love to see that, and that would be redemption for her character. For going from this is how I want to rule. It's my right to rule Mandalore. I have the Darksaber. I lost it. Now Mandalore is destroyed, and then to go through the process of redeeming herself as an actual leader of the Mandalorians would be amazing. And you're exactly right. Where does Din Djarin fit into that picture? He
Right.
doesn't. And there was a comment earlier in the chat. Forgive me, I don't remember who said it, but this is the Grogu show. Which is why we got him back in season 3. No one would watch if it wasn't for him. It's tough to say, but he sells the merchandise. People watch for him. We get excited about the Purrgil or the Mythosaur or little runes when we translate the Arabesh or something. We get excited about that. 90% of people get excited when Grogu goes.
Yeah.
And half of those people don't even know his name is Grogu.
Bro, honestly, let me tell you this. I think people like the idea of Grogu with a companion. Had it been Luke and Grogu being the father figure, had it been,
it wouldn't matter.
You know what I'm saying? Din just happens to be that guy that was with him for because Grogu's 50. He's had a bunch of people. Like, you're not going to convince me that he's never not had a connection with nobody. What makes Din so special? Like, it's just the math ain't math in there. Why we have this character that, unless, like I said, unless you tie him, unless Din has to either Yeah, no, I can't even think of anything for Din to do unless you tie him into somebody like Ezra Bridger and make him an older brother. I just don't see the use for him.
Okay, something just popped into my head.
What do you
looking
got?
at the chat right now. Nova Vaughn says, "Who's going to be the one that rides the Mythosaur?"
Boba Fett.
Father Time responds, "Me. You'll see." With CGI. And now I've got an amazing idea.
Oh no.
I'm going to edit something later tonight. Just stay tuned.
Here we go.
All right.
Boy, I tell you. So with this Mythosaur creature, man, it's real. It's not a thing of who is the Mythosaur. It's oh shit, we have a Mythosaur now. So
what did you say? You're sounding like a separatist.
That bastard. Bo?
That's the no button for no words.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot.
I don't even remember what you were saying. I'm sorry.
I was just asking who you think is going to ride the Mythosaur.
Skills-wise, Din doesn't have it. Boba's ridden a Rancor. I mean, look at the combat experience that Bo-Katan showed in this episode. It's not even close.
Right.
It's really not. So.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Din's just seems so underqualified for a lot of this.
What Din can do is reunite with my girl Omera, from way back in season 1. Remember, Shorty from they tried to give Grogu to in episode 4, The Village, Julia Jones' character.
Ooh, the lady that almost got him to take off his helmet.
Yeah, buddy. That could be his happy ending.
Yeah. Yep. Right off into the sunset. Yeah. Din with the Darksaber, Bo with the Mythosaur, and Mary become the ultimate power couple.
What? Nah. What did you say?
Don't do this.
Don't do that.
How could you even say that?
And you're sounding like a separatist.
Hold up.
Yeah, don't say such things.
Yeah.
Grogu tames it so he can ride it. Maybe.
He already tamed a Rancor.
Yeah. Who has the stronger claim as ruler of the current Mandalorians? One who tames the Mythosaur, or one who won the right to wield the Darksaber? So, with the Mythosaur being their main iconography, I don't want to say like a deity to them, but if weapons are part of their religion, like that's their icon, the Mythosaur. So being able to do that, I think, would have much more of an impact. Because when in history was the last person that rode a Mythosaur?
The first
a long time ago, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's been a long while. So that might hold more weight than the Darksaber. Especially because he won the Darksaber against Moff Gideon, who isn't a Mandalorian. So, not to say that that's not legally how it gets passed on, but just the argument of like, oh yeah, you beat an Imperial Moff in combat. Great on you, good job. You just are the one who happens to have the Darksaber right now. So, I feel like taking that into account, I'd say probably the riding the Mythosaur would hold more weight in swaying the masses.
Yeah. Mythosaur all day, baby. So there's a bit of a stir going on in chat right now.
What are we looking at?
Some people are saying Boba Fett didn't tame the Rancor. That's Isaac. And then that's BS. Biz still is just Death Watch. Still not normal Mandalorians. This is from the new Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
There were Isaac mentioned something earlier about he didn't know people had a problem. We're so down on Din.
Doesn't feel like he has much of an impact on the world as a lot of other characters, sort of a Forrest Gump situation. It does really seem like things happen to him rather than him being the cause of things that happen. And from what I know of storytelling, that's a no-no.
All Din knows
you
how
don't.
to do is bring people in warm or cold, bro.
Yeah, it just seems like he's a passive protagonist, if you catch my meaning, which I don't know is the best thing. One other thing I really liked about this episode is it seemed like it took itself seriously. The first episode didn't feel that way, and maybe it was the Davy Jones pirate captain, or the one of my favorite guys. Hold up, where is that? There it is.
Hey.
Hello there.
Speaking of taking itself seriously,
What's up, guys?
it's good to see you, bro.
Good to see you both.
All right, so I haven't spoken to you in a little while. How are you enjoying this season of The Mandalorian so far, and how would you rate this last episode we got?
So far, I'm really enjoying the season. It's nothing that has like blown my socks off yet, right? Like, but it's I feel good about that because I want this to build. I think the second episode was more entertaining than the first, just because it went so deep into lore, and just seeing Grogu really expand on what he's learned and use his powers. Seeing him team up with Bo-Katan, that was pretty cool. But I think I think they're doing like kind of a slow build up to something that's going to be really massive. What's up, Nova Bond?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but with like larger implications on like, hey, this changes the course of major events throughout the galaxy, not just a guy and a child.
Yeah.
So it feels like that.
Yeah.
With the talk of the different clans, Bo-Katan setting it up like they're just gone. They're scattered throughout the galaxy. Wave that thing around, and they'll all follow you. It's lending weight and gravity to when that does happen.
Yeah.
So
it's somewhat, not that it's the same style, but the buildup is reminiscent of how we started Andor. Andor was a slow burn, right? It was we're going to build up. And though very different in style, I think the idea is the same. So I was thrilled with the direction Andor took. So if it's anything like that, then I know we're in for something amazing.
Right. And that's my critique of the first episode of this season, and what I wasn't really too excited about was The Mandalorian has never really been as serious as Andor was. That's not the point of the show. But again, it felt like this episode did take itself seriously. Like, okay, we're getting legitimate plot. Sure, we get some strange creatures that they have to fight, but there's a reason behind things. There's a purpose now. So it definitely did feel like it took itself more seriously, which is very nice.
When watching that episode, I was like, oh, somebody was watching the original Time Machine when they wrote this, because those things were clearly Morlocks from the Time Machine.
I don't know what that is, but I can see it.
Dude, you would love it. The Time Machine is an all-time classic, but there's like these creatures that live underground, and they look just like that.
Yeah, Stanley's does have a good point. It's been so long since season 2, as we talked about earlier in the show, that the first episode was sort of like a recap for those that didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, it's just a shame that the premiere wasn't as much of a premiere. I mean, it was 10 minutes shorter than the episode we just got, this week.
Yeah, bro. Like, honestly, we just need to peep tomorrow's episode, because I think that's, again, it's an hour long, man. It's gonna be epic. I know it in my soul, and I'm just hoping that a lot of people can start getting on board with where I'm hoping that the show can like give us that direction of where we're going, what it is. Give it all or nothing, baby.
Yeah. I think this third episode is going to have a lot of exciting stuff going on in there. But I feel like we needed this opening that we got, because if the first episode would have been just go right to the mines of Mandalore, I almost feel like it wouldn't have been as special. Like, I feel like that build up just to that. But
yeah, you're right
think about that too. A lot of people, myself included, were kind of expecting this entire season to be the lead up to the mines of Mandalore.
Yeah.
But we got them in the second episode, so now I'm like, where are we going?
Yeah.
I think there's two other takeaways that I had from this episode. One, if you're doing a Mandalorian ritual, don't do it near the edge of the water. Two, if you're going into the mines and there's a dark pool of water next to you, there's a creature inside it. Frodo learned that.
Right?
Like, just saying.
Man.
The mines of Moria, Mandalore.
Bro, Luke learned that lesson in episode 4 with the swamp one-eye creature.
Yeah, the Dianoga.
Yeah.
Yep, you are correct.
Before we get any further, that size, it was in Resident Evil.
Is there a crocodile in Resident Evil?
Oh,
that sounds terrifying.
In RE2, there's a giant crocodile.
Stars.
Whoa.
Dude, we've had so much fun on your streams of that. That's awesome. The chewing weed.
You got to get that chewing weed.
All right. Before we get,
it's like, what?
All right. Okay.
All right.
Not talking about edibles. Don't worry. So before we get any farther, I did get my monetization back, which is good. I had it down for a week. There was an issue with my address that Google wanted me to rectify. So if you guys really want to super support the channel, there's always the super chat option. And if you want to kind of support the channel, you can always delicately tap that like button. Just you guys being here in the chat and watching also means a whole lot. I really appreciate that. But yeah, we got monetization back, which is nice. So
sweet.
That's good. Next, I wanted to ask you guys, before we get into our other news segment, do you guys know who the QAnon shaman is?
I don't even know what you just said. What?
No.
Okay. Okay. So let's get into this news segment. If I can find the stinger. I have way too many stingers. There it is. This is the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
Love that.
Thank you. So, welcome to the way the news goes, the way we talk about current events and try to relate them to Star Wars. This is not a news channel. This is like a Star Wars late night channel. But we're going to talk about some current events. So, I got to choose my words carefully because I don't want YouTube to think that I'm getting political when I'm not really trying to. But you guys know January 6th, I'm sure, from what, 2 years ago or whatever. The storming of the Capitol. And that day. And there was a lot of things that were weird or not good or whatever, however you feel about that day. But one figure that stood out was named, they dubbed the QAnon shaman. He was painted as the leader, the horn hat guy with the painted face. You know who I'm talking about, Matt Cave. Hopefully people in chat know as well. Footage has just been released from the security cameras inside, so we can actually figure out exactly what went on. It's a little bit different than what was painted originally by the media. It was that, they said it was this crazy mob that went in and were, hacking down police officers and all this stuff, and that QAnon shaman guy was leading the charge and, violently attacking the police, and they couldn't resist him. That's how it was painted. But new information has come out. If I can find that clip, there it is. here's a little bit of information about that was just recently released within the last week.
Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman outside the Senate chamber. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon shaman. It is very clear what happened once he got inside. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him.
No, this is good. This is all good. This is talking about
What? Is that real?
So, yeah, oh yes. Oh yes. So, contrary to the initial reports, he wasn't violently leading this thing and assaulting police officers. He was being led around. So, that's the video that came out. I have actually obtained exclusive footage of him as he's being led around. I'm gonna break this news right now. It took me a little while to find this, but this has never been seen before on TV. Exclusive footage of the QAnon shaman being led through the Senate halls.
No. Dude. Oh, fuck.
Oh my
So,
God.
exclusive footage of the yeah, that's just the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
Oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to watch that scene the same way again.
Never.
So, I don't know. It just the things that pop into my head during the work week. I thought I would share it with you guys.
Fantastic.
So,
I love it.
Master Paul, Star Wars guys, good to see you in the chat. Yeah. Lies, deception.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Goodness.
Since someone punched him in the clothes. Oh, there's another great inside joke. I gotta play.
Yeah,
it.
guy got yeeted, God.
I'm gonna punch him right in the clothes.
I got yeeted.
Classic. All right, let's bring it back to bring it back to Mando. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the aliens. Were actually really cool. I want to know more about them. Did you guys like jump out of your chair when the head crawled away?
Oh yeah, that thing,
dude. Okay, we got to talk about that thing.
Yeah,
because
what is it?
That thing was clearly. It's not him, but it was clearly a throwback to Grievous.
Yes, I said that in my reaction.
The same manner. It had the hunched over walk. He fell over the same way when Bo stabbed him with the Darksaber, and just went down like Grievous. And at first, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was. I was like, no way.
I did too.
Did Grievous survive? But the eye is different. So
it's a very interesting creature because it's essentially a creature using a robotic skeleton, using a robotic skeleton.
Yeah.
It was really cool. So the creature, whatever it was, is contained in there. And I'd be interested to figure out actually what it is, if it's dependent on that, like if it's a true cyborg and it needs that to survive, or it's a creature that's just using whatever the head was as a mech suit and then using other attachments. But I thought it was fascinating. It was really cool. And it also reminded me of Shelob from Return of the King.
Big spider.
Yeah, with the way that it injected him and then kind of carried him back like a spider, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, very creative with that and the other monsters. I forget exactly what they were called.
Yeah, Bo said their name. I forget what it was. I just keep calling them Morlocks. But it was
yeah.
she talked about them they used to live outside of basically the old kingdom, basically. They were out on the
out in the
outskirts.
wastelands.
And I guess, since everyone else left, forced out, they moved in. I loved how they were hiding in that crystallized formations in the ceiling, so they could see through, and they would just
really cool. Yep,
bust right through. Oh, it was so cool.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they put more effort into the creativity for these creatures as opposed to Gillian Shard, Davy Mossy Jones.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't too crazy about the spider thing, but yeah. And then he wouldn't die when Bo-Katan sliced his head off. He just shut down. Even though he was just weird to me. But yeah, I think now had he turned out to have been Grievous, though, I think that
that would have been insane. I would have lost my mind. That was like,
could you imagine if like Bo-Katan steps in there and then he like powers up in the mech suit? Hello there. Like how cool that would have been.
General Katan.
And Israel in the chat makes a really good point. This thing was draining Din of his blood. Right. So it's like, what was it? Did it need that to survive, or was that something else? Like this thing left us with more questions than answers.
Think so.
Yeah, the Techno Union could be a good call. Alamites. Yeah. That's right. That's what they were called.
The Morlocks were called Alamites. Yep.
Yeah, it was definitely siphoning his blood. I would be very interested in finding out more about that alien because I thought it was original, very creative, very creepy, very creepy. So the last thing I wanted to talk about as we wrap up the stream is the credits hit hard this time. Because Andor, every episode, what I mean by that is with Andor, every episode, screen goes blank, and the credits hit, and you're like, oh no! I didn't feel that at all after Chapter 17. At all, I didn't feel that after last week. It was like, all right, that's it, that's done. This week, after the reveal of the Mythosaur, they escape, and they're just sitting there on the side of the water, and then the credits hit. I was, I'm hyped. Yeah. I'm hyped, and that is catapulting me into the rest of the season. I'm thoroughly invested, very excited about it. It hit hard.
That was a huge turning point for Bo. She's not coming out of this the same. Everything she believed, everything she thought, it's all different now in that one moment.
I mean, do you think that she got redeemed too, since she technically went in the water?
She's not going to abide by leaving her helmet on, so it wouldn't really matter for her. But even to witness the Mythosaur, like Matt KV, like you're saying, has got to be altering for her. And it's, if you want to take this on a meta level or philosophical analysis, which is usually what I tend to do, it's kind of a meeting in the middle from their different ideologies. One is super scornful and doesn't really believe any of the religion of the Mandalorians and is basically just a mercenary who believes she is owed the throne. And then on the other end, you have Din, who is a zealot, who's very strict in his ideology, going through this ritual, and they both sort of meet in the middle, where some of his superstitions about a curse or something are relieved, and some of her, unbelief or disbelief rather, is assuaged, and there's kind of a meeting in the middle in them recognizing, hey, maybe there's more to everything than I previously thought. So that aspect of it I thought was really cool as well. But yeah, Mythosaur reveal, credits, it just hit hard. I'm very excited for the rest of the season.
So huge. And it's another thing that leaves us with a lot of questions. This, they talked to, even she was talking about it with Din, about how Mandalore tamed the Mythosaur and all of this, right? Questions like, how old is the Mythosaur? Is it the one and only? Is this the one that Mandalore tamed? Because he didn't attack, or it didn't attack. You know, it left them be. It let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And
basically the equivalent of dragons in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious how they explain it. Like, if we determine, is this the Mythosaur, or is this just another Mythosaur? But it seemed like it staying so calm with them being under the water. It felt to me like it was like it looked at them and was like, okay, I recognize them because of the armor.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so
I'm sure they have huge lifespans. I would assume a creature that large, I would assume that they're around for a little while. So,
damn, I never even thought of that.
I'm excited to figure out more.
That's super interesting, dude. If that Mythosaur is the same exact one that was tamed all those years ago, that's fucking wild.
That would be crazy, right? Because this creature then potentially has all of this knowledge of the past and what has happened to this planet. Like, I don't know if they communicate with the Mythosaur in any way, but Grogu could.
Yeah.
And
he's the key.
That could be very interesting.
And here's another angle I just thought about that we're not really talking about yet. And I probably actually want to make a video on this specifically. Instead of a single ruler like we were talking about earlier, does Din have what it takes to be the ruler of Mandalore? Does Bo-Katan have what it takes after her failed attempts previously? Where does Grogu fit in all of this? What if this, to reunite the clans, needs to be sort of a group effort to where there isn't one leader of Mandalore, Bo-Katan, who's the face of the rulership of Mandalore. You've got Din Djarin, who is the more symbol or icon of the leading of Mandalore, that holding up the Darksaber and saying, let's rally behind this. And then you've got Grogu, who is, bringing up the rear, so to speak. And maybe he's the one who communicates with the Mythosaur and brings that aspect of it. Like, look, we can control the Mythosaur. We can rally all our groups together. We have the Darksaber. We are Mandalorians. We are more than what our history has been recently. We can rise from the ashes and become a great empire again if we stick together, because we are not mercenaries scattered throughout the galaxy. We're Mandalorians. We have a culture. We have to preserve our people. So that's an aspect of it that I haven't even thought of until just right now, which definitely
it
could
to rally behind.
Be a solution.
Yeah, they're all like so many split apart groups. It's unbelievable. KG was saying, I thought the same thing. Initially when Din fell, I was like, oh, something grabbed him. Turns out he didn't get grabbed. There were no more steps. This was probably part of the bombing, and there was no more land there. He sunk like a rock because of his Beskar. He went straight down, and he didn't have his pack on or anything. He took it off.
You're right.
So he just literally stepped off a cliff and dropped.
You just changed the entire perception for me, Matt.
Yep.
I got
and then the Mythosaur didn't attack because it's probably like,
yeah, here's this guy. I know these guys.
Yep. Yep. Oh, they're still around.
Interesting. Right, guys, I gotta head out.
All right, good to see you, everyone. Don't forget, this is Dan the Man. Dude, great to have you on. Appreciate talking with you.
Always a pleasure, guys. Good night.
This guy.
Yeah, that's the guy. Awesome. Well, any final thoughts as we're pretty much wrapping up here?
I think we're in this wonderful place to be as Star Wars fans. I think this is just going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to get a lot of lore, and I don't know. I feel like this is the season where we're going to get a lot of things we've all wanted. And it may not be exactly as we had it in our minds, but it's going to be pretty darn close. This is Yeah, it's going to be intense. I can't wait to see what this is building towards. Curious, do you know? I didn't even look this up. Do you know how many episodes this season will be? Is it another 8?
It should be another 8 from what I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know officially, but I would assume that's kind of what everyone's been talking about. So I would think it's 8.
Oh.
So 6 more after this. But like I said, when those credits hit, I'm in it. I'm fully invested.
Yeah,
I would still prefer to watch Andor season 2, but that's a totally different level. That's
we're gonna get there.
I'll watch a Marvel movie as it comes out, and I'll judge it on the Marvel scale. But I'm really, really stoked for Oppenheimer coming out in July. You know that? Did you see the trailer for that?
For it, yeah.
Like that's my type of movie, and it's different. So that's why I'm getting to the point where I'm separating Andor from Mandalorian, different scales of rating. As far as the Mandalorian scale, 9 out of 10 for this last episode. Great.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm with you. I agree.
And I'm very excited for the rest of the season.
It was intense. You know what got me big into a Star Wars mood? Speaking of Marvel, which I wasn't expecting, but I took my family. We went and saw the new Ant-Man. And it was very Star Wars. I mean, there was literally a cantina scene. I was like,
I was thinking about going to check
Star
that
Wars.
out. Yeah, I was thinking about going to check that out. I just rarely get to the movies ever these days. Yeah, Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. I'm very excited. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to nuclear physics and radiation documentaries and history for all that stuff. So that's right up my alley. Not to mention Christopher Nolan is my favorite director. So I will be in the theaters to watch that. My wife's excited about that also. So I will definitely see that. Maybe even do a review of it here on the channel.
Awesome.
Very excited for that. So anything you want to plug or mention, I'll try to get your channel in the chat.
I've got, Way Back Wednesdays coming up. We're going to get back into retro, but tonight, if for anybody who didn't get to see it, I premiered Modern Mondays happened tonight, and we're playing Hogwarts Legacy, which is
to counteract the Way Back Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
I actually have Alan Copeland to thank for the idea.
Cool.
We were trying to figure out what day, and he's like, "Well, why don't you call it Modern Monday?" I'm like, "You're onto something."
I like it. I like it. And by the way, if I do say so myself, you have an excellent catchphrase.
I this catchphrase came from just a brilliant man with a mustache that is unparalleled by anyone. I don't know. This man does fall into legend. It's just
that's awesome. And Ryan B, to answer your question, yes, I do. His what's his series called? He has a series of different radiation stories and nuclear accidents. But yes, he has absolutely fantastic videos. I watch those as soon as they come out. Half-Life series, that's what it's called. Yes, I think I did see that one. Very, very interesting stuff. Very sciencey, and radiation is very fascinating to me. I don't want it myself, but all right. Well, I put the Matt Caves link in the chat, so everyone, if you want to do anything to help support my channel, first go and support his channel. Give him your subscription. It costs you nothing, but to us creators, it means a whole lot. So
it does.
Yep. Well, that is going to do it for the show tonight. Like I said, I'm very excited to see where the show goes from here. Matt Cave, great to see you pop on here. Always a pleasure having you on.
Thanks for having me.
And everyone, if you've been here from the very beginning, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.